Hello everyone and welcome to Gas City Gaming's Aether Revolt set review. Today we'll be taking a look at the blue cards. We're going to start with Aether Swooper. It is a generic and a blue mana for a creature that is a Vedalken Artificer. It has flying, it is a 1/2. It also has, when Aether Swooper enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy. I've said it a few times in our white review video, but the brackets, 2 energy, that actually says you don't have to count anymore. Whenever Aether Swooper attacks, you may pay 2 energy. If you do, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. Now, there's a whole cycle of these that when they attack, when they enter, you get 2 energy. When they attack, you can pay 2 and make a servo. This one, because it's a 2-cost flyer, is the kind of the most likely to get in there, and the most likely to get you that 1/1. And like, if you have the Flyers deck, the blue-white Flyers deck, then this one is one you're gonna play, right? It's a 2-drop, it's a 1/2, so it blocks if they make Thopters, it blocks those all day, and gets you that servo that then you can crew a vehicle with if you have a vehicle or something. I probably like this one the best because it's the evasive, it's most likely to get you that servo. It's also kind of fits the best in its colors. It's blue, it's a flyer, it's aggressively costed. It's a 1/2, so it's not like a 2/1, so it's not that aggressive, but it's a 1/2. But for 2 mana, it gets you 2 energy, gives you a flyer that blocks servos. Seems good to me. And also, if you could do blue-red as well. Blue-red or blue-white, or even blue-green. Blue seems to be pretty centric to the energy strategies in Limited. Not good enough to see anything past Limited, I don't think, but definitely good for your Limited and your sealed decks. Next card is Aether-Tide Whale. It's 4 generic mana and 2 blue for a creature that is whale. It's rare, it's a flyer, and it's a 6/4. When Aether-Tide Whale enters the battlefield, you get 6 energy counters. You may pay 4 energy to return Aether-Tide Whale to its owner's hand. It does a few things. You know, you can, if it's going to get surprise blocked, surprise killed, something where it's going to die, you don't want your 6/4 bomb flyer to die, you can bounce back to your hand. You can set off, if you have Revolt cards, you can set those off by bouncing it. Most of the time, though, if you are playing that, again, we talked about blue being one of the big energy strategy decks, you're going to play this to get energy to set off some other cards. I know recently we stream down below on Twitch from time to time. I drafted a blue-white deck and it got 3 of those 1-drop guys that mill 3. So I would have loved one of these to get me more energy to keep milling people. In Limited Sealed, it's a pretty good strategy, actually. You only need 11 energy, they draw 7, 33 cards left, 6 or 7 turns, puts them down to, you know, of 26 cards-ish, may say 24 to 27, in that range where you only have to tap those things 8 or 9 times and they've milled out their whole deck. Never mind if they have any draw, discard, if they need draw on their own kind of thing. So it was a fun deck to play. I've always liked playing mill. That's me. I like those kinds of strategies, those outside the game, not relying on damage strategies. But anyway, back to Aether-Tide Whale. Is good card, a 6/4 flyer in blue, aggressive stats. Limited sealed, pick it, play it every time, love it. If you're in that blue-white Flyers, this is your curve topper. This is your big energy bomb, your big power bomb that's going to get over there for hopefully a whole bunch of damage. But Aether-Tide Whale is a good card. Baral, Chief of Compliance is also a really good card. Baral, Chief of Compliance is a 1 generic mana and 1 blue for a legendary creature, human wizard at rare. He is a 1/3. It says instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Whenever a spell or ability you control counters a spell, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. So this is one of those rare cases where in Limited and Sealed, this card is not going to be as good. Again, this is all in my opinion. I'm not winning Pro Tours or top 8ing or anything crazy. But in your Limited and Sealed decks, at least for myself, I tend to play, I don't know, maybe 7-ish, on the high end 5 to 7 non-creatures. And in this set particularly, a couple of those might be vehicles or artifacts, so that leaves me at maybe 4-ish instants and sorceries. If I'm playing blue, a couple of those might be counter spells. So he's going to save me 3 mana on the high end, which cost reducing is good. Cost reducing is good. And possibly loot maybe twice. If it's really good, it's going to loot twice. And card selection is good. And he's a lot of time, though, in limited and sealed, I feel like he's just going to be a 1/3. Maybe saves you 1 mana, and if you're lucky, you'll get to loot once. So, but in standard, I definitely see this guy being a thing in like a black-blue control, maybe even Esper control deck, where you're going to be countering things, you're going to be killing things, and just, if you can make those cheaper and save yourself some mana, that's just great. And looting, meanwhile, while you do that. Of course, with Thopter being out, this guy probably going to be our biggest looter in standard. So I see this guy kind of being legendary, and the fact that he's a 1/3 keeps him from being a playset, but I can see it being a 2-of kind of thing, you know, play one other one if first one gets killed. Being a 1/3 is important, you know, it doesn't die to shock in the limited environment, and the shock is going to be play standard, see standard play as well, I believe. So being the 1/3 is important, blocks servos and stuff all day, but I like it. I think it's going to see standard play. Again, this is probably that rare case because it just does stuff to your instants and sorceries, where it's going to be better in constructed environments than it is in sealed. Again, you can make a sealed deck more centric around this guy, but you know, you're also going to need to have your couple of big bomb cards like the Aethertide Whale that are actually going to swing over and do the damage for you as well. It can't be all this guy and all counters or all bounce and stuff like that. So, good card though. Brawl Chief Compliance, very good card. Brawl's Expertise is 3 generic mana and 2 blue for a rare sorcery. It says return up to 3 target artifacts and or creatures to their owner's hands. You may cast a card with converted mana cost 4 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. My dream world with this is to bounce someone's entire board and drop Gideon for free. That seems good. And then you can just make a night with Gideon and say go, and Gideon on an empty board is gonna mean you win most of the time. Especially if you have in the kind of deck that would be in, that Esper control deck, that has your other kills and counter spells for backup as well. So it's just, you're going to have a good time with Brawl's Expertise. I can't talk enough about the Expertise cards, and how good they are and going to be. They're all kind of good for their shells, right? The white card is pretty aggressive. We've talked about white already. This is blues our second one. We're doing the Wooburg order. Brawl's Expertise is good in that control-y build, right? It lets you bounce everything. So they got to pay to replay it slowly, possibly over a few turns, and you got to drop another control-y board control card like Gideon. So Brawl's Expertise, just again, awesome card. Can't talk enough about the Expertise cards. I just love the flavor text of this. Get out of my way. Bastian Inventor is 5 generic mana and a blue for a creature. It is a Vidalcan Artificer. He's common for a 4/4 with Improvise and Hexproof. Improvise is your artifacts can help you cast a spell. Each artifact you tap after you're done activating mana abilities pays for 1 generic mana. So after you're done activating mana abilities means, okay, if I have 5 artifacts, I have to tap for the 1 blue first. And then I can tap 5 artifacts to pay for the 5 generic mana. Or, you know, in whatever order. I have 3 artifacts, tap for the blue and 2 of whatever color, and then the 3 artifacts to cast this guy. In my pool, at least, at my pre-release, I did get one of these guys, and the Hexproof was a real good for this guy, because there wasn't, on my opponent's sideboard, in this set, 4/4 is pretty big. And on my opponent's side of the board, this guy was just wrecking. He had like a couple, 1/2s, 0/3s, and this guy would just kill one every turn. If not, he would get in there for 4. It was a really good card, performed well for me. There's not enough of a hexproof theme in this set, I don't think, for this guy to really get through. And there's lots of, like Heaney's Expertise, -3/-3 to everything. So then you can block this with a 1/1. There's the black one, the -2/-2 to everything. Block this with a 2x, and kill it. So I don't think it's good enough to see anything past limited or sealed, but for my limited seal, did a really good job for me. I played this guy for 4 mana a couple times. On turn 4 a couple times, because I had a couple like implements or puzzle knots out, decreasing his cost for mana wise, so I dropped this guy early. You get a 4/4 hexproof on the board turn 4. It feels pretty good. So Bastian Inventor, solid card. Disallow. If Emrakul would have stuck around, would have been a better card. But it's 1 generic mana, blue for a rare instant. It says counter target spell, activated ability, or triggered ability. Mana abilities can't be targeted. They don't want to cut you off for adding land. But it's just like there's no reason anymore to ever play cancel ever. There wasn't most of the time. Anyway, we've always had cancel with upside for a number of different cards and a number of different sets. But this one counters a lot of different things. Doesn't give you the scry selection that some others did in the past, but because you can get a spell and an activated ability, it's like, okay, I'm going to play Gideon, immediately emblem him. It's like, oh, I'm going to counter that ability, actually. So you just sack your Gideon, thanks. Right? Or triggered abilities, so something enters an enter the battlefield effect, like a Gear Hulk effect. Somebody plays their Gear Hulk, you can just counter the Gear Hulk, or you can counter the actual ability itself, right? Any of those cast triggers that, like Ulamog, you can keep Ulamog, I'll have another kill spell for him, but I'm going to counter the Exile 2 Things ability, right? So, while it doesn't solve everything because stuff goes off on cast triggers nowadays, definitely helps you solve a lot of problems that you could in the past. Of course, if Emrakul was still around, you could counter the Mindslaver ability that it had, the take your turn ability, where they still have Emrakul, still you got to deal with it, but at least then there's no turn interruption where that's where you really won the game with Emrakul. But Disallow, really good card, gonna see standard play. So if you're gonna play the blue deck and you're gonna have a counterspell when you pull this, you play this instead of your other counterspells. Dispersion Technician, as 4 generic mana and a blue for a creature. It's a Vidalcan Artificer for a 3/2. It has, when Dispersal Technician enters the battlefield, you may return target artifact to its owner's hand. The fact that it's not target artifact or creature is actually pretty big, because there are some decks that don't play a lot of artifacts. That's why it's may, because if it had when it enters you have to return it, and there was nothing to return, but like sometimes it's just going to feel bad if you have to bounce a puzzle knot or something, you know, and then it sets off Revolt for your opponent too, like if they have a Fatal Push or some other kind of instant speed Revolt thing to do. It's just not going to feel good, especially for 5 mana for a 3/2. There's going to be those situations where, because I just can't think of a lot of stuff I want to bounce. I don't want to bounce a Gear Hulk, because then they're going to get the end of the battlefield trigger again. If you can bounce a token copy of something, gets rid of it, or a servo gets rid of it, but like for a 3/2 for 5 mana that does that, I don't see it. I know, as always, I'll mention it again later, but if you guys disagree with me or something, or have other ideas, I'm not the be-all, end-all for Magic. If you guys have other ideas, please put them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. So, Dispersal Technician, no. Efficient Construction. I have some thoughts about this card. Efficient Construction is 3 generic mana and a blue for an enchantment at uncommon. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. It's a lot of words. Anyway. So, Efficient Construction, limited is okay. You might, if you have the artifact heavy deck, like a blue artifact heavy theme, definitely could be good. You can create an army of Thopters pretty quickly. My big thought on it, however, is in Modern, you guys are going to love me now. In Modern, I play Lantern Control. So, Game 1, this one, I'm thinking of maybe this is a 1 of, maybe a 2 of in the sideboard. For those Game 2, because one of the problems with Lantern Control is it has trouble winning within the time limit. If you've ever played competitive Magic, you know that there's basically a 1-hour time limit, a 50-minute round, and then you have 5 turns after that to finish the game, to play 3 games of Magic. Lantern Control is an extremely slow deck. So turn 1, going to play my game, right? My opponent will probably have removal spells in their deck. They'll see I'm playing Lantern Control. They will take out all of their removal spells because I only have like a couple of Glint Nest Cranes, right? I put 1 or 2 of these in the sideboard. I haven't decided on the number yet. I'm going to try out 1, but bring it in game 2. Game 2, you know, yes, it's a 4-drop. Let me talk about that. I've hit 4 mana fairly easily, you know, when you start, because I can even, like, I've had plays where I Mox Opal for something, play another Mox Opal, do something else, sacking that Opal. So I could, theoretically, with 2 land and an Opal in my hand, cast this and empty my hand as well. So, what I really like about that is that any artifact that I have for the rest of that game is going to make me a 1/1. Then I get to control their games, and if I, you know, drew another Lantern, play it, get another Thopter, they're probably going to see that I'm playing Lantern, side out almost all, if not most, of their removal. Yes, they're going to have a couple of Abrupt Decays in still to try and kill things, but for the most part, they're going to bring in removal and say, okay, are you going to kill these Thopters that are killing you now, or are you going to kill the Lantern portion of this that's killing you? You know, they're going to have to vary stuff more. That and this will hopefully also speed up my game, to speed up that clock in the After Effect game. So game 3 then becomes the fun one for them, where how much creature removal do they bring in? Especially if I created quite a few Thopters in the game and killed them with those, rather than killing them just through the mill, how much do they bring in? What do they keep out? The fact that this is 4 mana dodges Abrupt Decay. So could definitely, I want to try it in that deck, so we'll see what happens, but I think it might become some cool tech for that deck. We'll see. Yeah, so a little bit longer of a modern rant there. If there's an artifact deck in Standard, this definitely just goes in it, because your artifacts get you more free artifacts to cast things with Improvise, or to crew vehicles, or to just attack, because they're 1/1 flying Thopters. But I definitely see this deck striking out past, this card striking out past just these sealed and limited environments. Hinterland Drake is a flying 2/3 for 2 and a blue at common. It cannot block artifact creatures. Depends on what deck the person is playing, but I had a blue-white flyer deck that I had 2 of these in, and I was more than happy to play 2 of them. Because a 2/3 flyer, it kills Windrake, so it wins that battle. Kills that Osprey, the white Osprey that's a white Windrake, kills that and lives through it. It eats Thopters all day, and it just is that. This is that guy that I was often attacking with, while keeping something else back to block, maybe a couple Thopters to chump block, something like that. This is that guy that I was attacking with, turning this guy sideways all day. Not good enough for anything past that, but limited, sealed, just a solid card. Ice Over. This is your blue removal, right? Your blue removal is either counter, bounce, or tap, like this guy. So Ice Over is a generic and a blue for an enchantment aura. It says enchant artifact or creature. Enchanted permanent doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. So when it says enchant artifact, that means you can enchant a vehicle. So if somebody crewed a vehicle, attacked you with it, you can enchant it, and that stays tapped. Note that this does not tap the creature. So if you play this on something that's untapped, they're going to get one more crew out of it, or they're going to get one more swing out of it before this really takes effect, before this really does anything. So you got to be a little bit careful with your timing with that. It is cheap enough though, so that's nice. I've seen these effects in the past be good, but the fact that you have to either take a hit or let them attack you with it first, it's still like you're still going to play it in blue, because this is what your removal is in blue, honestly, right? So still good. You're going to play it in sealed, you're going to play it in draft, but past that, because it doesn't tap something past limited, it's not going to see anything, in my opinion. Illusionist Stratagem is 3 generic mana and a blue for a uncommon instant that says exile up to 2 target creatures you control, then return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control, draw a card. So this is that card that's going to give you, like, you attacked on their turn when they were tapped out. So they think, oh, your board is empty, I'm going to attack into you now. You blink your blockers, they come back untapped, you block, you hopefully blow them out, and then attack on the next turn for the win. And you also get a draw card, so that seems good. Or, you know, vice versa, you attack in, you can use it to protect your creatures or to protect yourself, basically is what I'm trying to say. If it's later in the game and you have a lot of mana, you can also use this to set up Revolt, Or nice thing about this is if the creatures that are on board already have Revolt, like I'm thinking this with Deadeye Harpooner. Deadeye Harpooner has Revolt when it enters, kill tapped creature. So I attacked with my Deadeye Harpooner. They attack us. We play Illusionist Stratagem, blink our Deadeye Harpooner, comes back in because something left. The Deadeye Harpooner itself left. It sees itself leave and sees itself come back. And oh, I left earlier this turn. Kill that thing that's tapped now, right? At instant speed because this is instant. So this definitely has some good combos in that. I see the Revolt deck being a little bit more aggressive, but I could see this being a sideboard-ish card for that because it lets you repeat those triggers. But that's if it gets past, you know, sealed and limited. If you're playing blue-white Revolt deck, this definitely gets in there. Sets off your Revolt again, card advantage, instant speed. I like it. I think it's an alright card. Leave in the Dust is 3 generic mana and a blue for a common instant. Says return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Draw a card. It's pretty expensive for bounce. It's 4 mana. It's instant, which is nice, but I know in Kaladesh we had 1 blue mana, return target tap permanent to its owner's hand. Didn't draw you a card, but still. So again, on their turn, hopefully they're tapped out and they can't just replay it, because you don't want to enable their Revolt, is the hard thing. You know, on your turn, you could get rid of their blocker and swing in. So there are scenarios that this is going to be good in, but this is going to be like one of the last things that personally I want to play because of that. Like I feel bad. There are always those feel good moments and those feel bads where you're going to feel good if you bounce their blocker and swing in for the win. Yeah. But there's going to be those feel bads where they're coming at you. You bounce their big creature. You know, they blow up your board because you blocked and your stuff died, and then they comes down and they get the Revolt trigger. You know, there's those feel goods and feels bad. So this one, I'm kind of middling on this. If I would play it, it would be something that comes in later, maybe just makes the cut if I don't have any better playables. But Leave in the Dust is okay. Like we've said, there's good cards, there's bad cards, so there's all these cards in the middle. This is one of those. Mechanized Production. That's 2 generic mana and 2 blue for a mythic enchantment aura. Enchant artifact you control. Any artifact, creature, vehicle, doesn't matter. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of enchanted artifact. Then, so after that, so it's still the beginning of your upkeep, but after you create the copy, if you control 8 or more artifacts with the same name as one another, you win the game. I haven't read all the fluff for this set, but we see right below, give me 8 walkers, I'll give you the city. So that means 8 wins the game, apparently. From Dovin Bond, he said that. Important thing to note with this, you don't need to have 8 copies of the thing that this is on. So if you put this on a Whirler Maker, make multiple Whirler Makers, but then you can make multiple Thopters with your multiple Whirler Makers. And you might be able to make those multiple Thopters faster, seeing how, since you have multiple Whirler Makers, you can make 2 or 3 a turn, depending on how much mana you have, right? So at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 8 Thopters out, right? Someone correct me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like okay. At the end of your turn, I make 2 Thopters. Bam. Okay. I untap, upkeep, in response to this trigger, in response to creating a new Whirler Maker, all my lands untapped, I make 2 more Thopters. I have 8 Thopters. Then this trigger resolves, and then since it sees I have 8 Thopters, I win, right? Could be a way for the control deck in Standard to win. There's 2 ways control decks usually like to win. Usually with one big creature that, you know, they've kept the board clear, and now their big creature can swing in, right? Like before, kind of the winter, the short winter we had with Thopter and Emrakul. Like at the Pro Tour, they had the Torrential Gearhulk, was its big dummy that swung in to win. When I was kind of started getting into competitive Magic, it was Aetherling in the Return to Ravnica. That was because it was unblockable too, so it was a little bit better. But that was your thing that swung in for your win, right? So this could be a non-creature win condition for some control decks that want to really sway all the way towards that control end of the spectrum compared to the creature end of the spectrum. If you want to go all the way control, this could be one of your win conditions. But other than that, really good card. I want to play with it just because I want to get that win condition with this thing. So I like this card. I would play with it, but maybe not the most competitive card ever, but I would play with it every time. Metallic Rebuke. This is really good. This could be Mana Leak 2.0 a lot of the times. So let me state my argument for that. Metallic Rebuke, we'll go over first, is 2 generic mana and a blue. It's a very common instant that has Improvise, and it says counter target spell unless its controller pays 3 mana. So turn 1, I Thraben Inspector, to get my clue. Turn 2, Island, go. Whatever you play, I can counter now, right? Because I tap my plains, I tap my island, I tap my clue to improvise it, so I make it cheaper with the 1 improvise. I paid 2 and I literally just mana leaked you, right? In standard. So just like mana leak though, it gets infinitely less effective the later the game goes. I played a 1 of in my sealed pool in one of them. I played 3 pre-releases, and it was in my blue-white flyers deck, I believe this one was. And you know, when you gotta play it on turn 9, it just feels bad because they cast their 5-drop on turn 9 and they have 4 mana still, and you're like, eh? So if you draw this late game, it just kind of feels bad, just like Mana Leak did. But when you play it on those early turns, and like if they're trying to play their 4-drop on turn 4, and you're like, haha, you did pretty good, right? But if it's not an on-curve card like that where they're tapping out to do it, like I said, later game when they have a bunch of mana and they can easily pay for this, it doesn't feel as good. But I'm ready to call this Mana Leak 2.0 for our standard environment that we're at now, and how much better creatures have gotten than pure spells, than pure instant sorceries, enchantments. I'm ready to call. I'm prepared enough to call this Mana Leak, because you're gonna have a clue sitting around, you're gonna have a puzzle knot sitting around, prophetic prism sitting around, something that you can tap to make it Mana Leak, basically, right? So, but I like it. Really good card. Don't play a ton in your sealed pool, but definitely going to see standard play. It's not gonna, well, could take the place of Mana Leak, not totally replace, mind you. But if there's like an artifact heavy, not the hard part about putting something into modern is it needs to take something else's place. It's not good enough to take Mana Leak because it's just 2 mana, and like this isn't going to go into my Lantern control deck. It's not. That's not what I'm trying to do. It's not going to go into Affinity. This isn't what they're trying to do. So if it sees modern, it's going to be some kind of new deck in modern, but nothing that I'm aware of personally. Negate. Good old Negate is back again. Generic mana and a blue. First of all, I love this art. Zach Stella. I'm sorry if I'm getting the name wrong, but Zach Stella, I love this art for this piece. Negate is 1 generic and a blue for a common instant. It says counter target non-creature spell. I will play one of these in my sealed deck all the time. I won't play too many because, like I said, my sealed decks usually have 5 to 7 non-creatures, so a third of my deck. So I'm going to be playing one of these, right? It always feels good at your pre-release. Somebody plays a Planeswalker, you negate it, you're like, ha ha ha, my common just killed your mythic. It just feels good. But Negate is Negate. It's always been a solid card. It sees play in formats from time to time. This is Negate goes in control decks. It's going to see play in standard because it has in the past and it will again. One or I would at most put 1 in your sealed deck, unless you know, if you are playing somebody, you can sideboard in your second copy if you get a second copy, because they are like 50-50 creatures, non-creatures, but that's a big risk on their part. But also, just love this art. I'm going with flavor text here too. Art I really like. I always like to check out flavor text. Flavor text is fascinating to see how the people of this plane. Okay, wait. Jace says this. You have to get Jace. It is fascinating to see how the people of this plane replicate magical techniques without a natural gift. Also frustrating. Thank you. That was Jace with the flavor text on Negate. Quicksmith Spy. It's 3 generic and a blue mana for a creature that is a human artificer at rare for a 2/3. When it enters the battlefield, target artifact you control gains tap, draw a card, for as long as you control Quicksmith Spy. So you could put that on a clue, you could put that on your puzzle knot, you could put that on a Thopter. How good does it feel just to have this, as long as you control Quicksmith Spy? So when Quicksmith Spy dies or goes away or something, like if you blink Quicksmith Spy, for example, it doesn't give it to 2 artifacts because it leaves, you don't control Quicksmith Spy, it comes back, and then you give it to another artifact. So your first artifact loses it, and your second one, that when you blink it, it comes back. But that ability to give it to a clue, so you can tap my clue, draw a card, and then sack my clue, draw a card, right? So that seems pretty good. I might see it as possibly a 2 of in control decks, because you don't want to get 2 creature. So we're playing 2 Barals, and we're playing 2 Torrential Gearhulks in our control deck. That might be all I want to do for creatures, right? Because this Quicksmith Spy, it gives us card advantage, but there's lots of just instants and sorceries to give us card advantage that Baral will make cheaper for us, so yeah, never mind, I'm going to take that back. I don't really see this making standard then at that point. It's definitely a good card. Sealed, limited, yep, just do it. Just play it. You're going to have lots of artifacts that you can semi-enchant with this thing, and then play those and draw cards, and you're going to have a good old time. Quicksmith Spy, really good card in your limited formats. Reverse Engineer is 3 generic mana, so this is what we were just talking about. 3 generic mana, blue, for a uncommon sorcery that has Improvise, and it says draw 3 cards. So, there's going to be lots of times where I pay 3 mana for this. Because I'm going to have a couple servos or a puzzle knot and implement. I'm going to tap those and pay 3 to draw 3. I'm fine with that. That's good. I'm going to feel good with that. I'm going to feel alright. I can see this going into the control decks in Standard because of that. Like Tezzeret here. I don't have all of these. I just got Tezzeret today, actually. Tezzeret here makes, and we'll see him later, but he makes artifacts that you can also tap for mana. So you can tap it for the temporary mana for Improvise, and just, I see this going in Standard decks. If you need card draw, like I was only play this as a 1-of. I know it's uncommon, so you might not get a whole lot, but I would play this as a 1-of. In a sealed Standard decks, card draw never feels bad, and sometimes you get those late game board stalls, especially if you're playing blue with the big fatty, big booty creatures that blue sometimes has that are just blocking all day. You sit back, okay, I'm going to draw 3 cards, and you draw into your gas. So I would definitely be happy playing one of these in sealed in the draft. Standard is going to see played because of how cheap you potentially can make it. So, but Reverse Engineer, I really like it. Good card. Salvage Scholar is a 4 generic mana and a blue for a uncommon creature crab. Whenever Salvage Scholar attacks, return an artifact you control to its owner's hand, and it's a 4/4. If you have Revolt, it could be good. But the fact that, if I can... I see too much of a downside. Like, in my blue-white pool, we talked about I had that Hexproof guy in earlier. I played the Hexproof guy over this. I cut this, I played the Hexproof guy, and I'm kind of glad I did. Because the Hexproof was a much better ability, despite the fact it was 1 more mana. I had Improvise, so I usually made it for this price. I played that over this because returning an artifact... A lot of times I didn't control any artifacts, and so I would get to attack for free, but... just if I had an artifact, I didn't want to bounce it. Sometimes, or if it's like if you get your Gear Hulk, do I want to bounce my Gear Hulk and maybe play it over again? So it could be good, but I preferred playing my Hexproof guy in my deck. If you get some of the artifact heavy stuff with the ETB effects, it could be good. Could be better in those decks. But in my deck, it was But I can see it having its place when it's being good, but it's not. It's okay. Like I said, this guy's in the middle. This one, you have your good cards, you have your bad cards. This guy's in the middle. Better in some situations than others. Like if you have your Gear Hulk, you attack, bounce your Gear Hulk, play it, get your battlefield effect again. Maybe your Torrential or your Cataclysmic Gear Hulk. So it could be good. I could definitely see it having its place. But I really wouldn't want to play more than a 1-of in a draft deck. 1-of sealed would be okay. Not doing anything in Standard or Modern or anything like that, though. So, Shielded Aether Thief is 1 generic mana and a blue for a creature at uncommon that's a Vedalken Rogue. Has Flash. And whenever Shielded Aether Thief blocks, you get an energy. And you can tap and pay 3 energy to draw a card. So, I really like this card. 0/4 at flash for 2 mana. It's going to be really good. So you're going to pay 1, maybe not even play anything, and they'll play something aggressive. You'll pay on turn 2, don't play anything. You're like, okay, cool, this guy's not on anything. And they'll attack with something. You'll flash this guy in, get an energy. Turn 3, play something, gets you more energy. Tap this, draw a card. Even just to flash this in to block something last second, it can save you a bunch of damage. There's so many things you can do with Shielded Aether Thief. Really like it. I didn't manage to get one, but I 100% would have played it, just because 3 energy draw a card, like we saw our Whale earlier. Aethertide Whale gets a 6 energy and draw 2 cards. There's nothing wrong with that. It's going to be really good in any kind of energy-based deck that involves blue, because you can even splash it. It's only 1 blue. If your Flash blocker is going to block your servos all day, it's going to block a lot of creatures all day, and he seems good. Shielded Aether Thief is just a good card. Shipwreck Moray is 3 generic mana, and a blue for a creature fish at common is a 0/5. When it enters the battlefield, you get 4 energy counters, and you can pay 1 energy to give it +2, -2 until end of turn. So you can pay that multiple times. So if it's blocking something that's like a 1/3, you can change that however you want to, or if he's attacking in, you can change it into a 4/1 to get damage. It's that versatile creature. When I talked about Aetherling earlier, it had the same kind of effect, but just for mana. And it's been really powerful in the past, so I expect this guy, even just, again, if you're playing a blue energy deck, 4 mana gets you a 0/5 and 4 energy. That's pretty good value. So you got to draw another card off of your Shielded Aether Thief with this guy. So good value. If I can get a couple, I'd play 2 in a draft deck. Wouldn't play much more than that, because it gets you a lot of energy, and I need creatures with power. But definitely a really good card. Enjoy it. Shipwreck Moray is a solid common card. Skyship Plunderer is 1 generic and a blue for a uncommon creature human pirate that is flying and has a 2/1. So this is your more aggressive 2-drop flyer. We saw our one that came in earlier. It was a 1/2 that gave you the 2 energy. Okay. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, for each kind of counter on target permanent or player, give that permanent or player another counter of that kind. Keep in mind, energy is a counter that a player has. A player, those energy counters go on you as a player. So whenever this hits your opponent, you get an energy counter, essentially. You have to already have one, but you get one. So if you play this turn 2, turn 3, play your 1/2 flyer, that gives you 2 energy. Swing with this, hit for 2, you're up to 3 energy. You can draw a card with your Aether Shielded guy, or there's a lot of things you can do. Sealed is good. It's evasive. It's aggressive. If they have a lot of Thopter making, it's not as good because it's 1 toughness. If they have a lot of Thopters in their deck, it's just going to die to one of those. But I like it. It's aggressive. There's a couple formats I usually lean towards when I'm doing sealed. I want to play green, but I haven't gotten a really good green pool. So I usually do something blue-white flyers-ish, or black-white control / just value mid-range value creatures. Those are the formats I usually lean towards a little bit. But this guy would definitely go in that blue-white flyers shell. Even that blue X energy themed deck is just going to be a solid card. I like Skyship Plunderer. Taken to Custody is 1 blue mana for a common instant. This says tap target creature. It doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. So this is a solid control card. This is your semi-removal in blue. So you're going to play 1 or 2 of these just to tap down their big attacker to buy you some more time, or to tap down their big thing that's either attacking you, or if you want to get in for those last few points of damage in your flyers deck. This is what I had. I played a couple of these. Tap down their flyer. I can get swing, get 2 attacks in there. For your flyer deck, it was good. I had a fun time with this. Taken in Custody, good card. Play it for as much as you can get it, in my opinion. But this kind of effect is always good. The fact that it stays tapped is the big thing that makes this extremely playable. But Taken in Custody is a solid card. I like reading the longer flavor text to it. It helps you get the story sometimes. So when you look at this, you can tell me what I want to know, or you can talk to the Chief of Compliance. Why don't you make it easy on yourself? So I think there was one like this in the last set. Or no, it was Shadows over Innistrad. It was Interrogate or something like that, but it let you investigate as well, so that was kind of cool. But next card. Next card. Trophy Mage. This is one of the first cards that was actually spoiled for this set. Trophy Mage is a 2 generic mana and blue for a uncommon human wizard creature. It is a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an artifact card with a converted mana cost 3, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. I really like Trophy Mage, like the fact that it lets you tutor for a 3 mana artifact. There are a lot of really good 3 mana artifacts in this set. And so then if I can chain this into an expertise, and then cast that 3 mana artifact that I just tutored up, that's going to be really good. But that's going to cost like 7 mana. So that's going to come later game. So I can see possibly it doing something like that, because it lets you tutor for that artifact. So it could be a really good card. If a deck like that comes up, this is definitely going to make it in there. That kind of mid-range, semi-control type deck. And if you can blink this and make copies, like if I can -2 Saheeli on this to go get another artifact, that's awesome, even better. But Trophy Mage is a really good card. Limited, sealed, played all the time. We're talking about sealed now. Or sorry, constructed now for standard. I can see it getting in there. It might kind of be on a fringe deck, or if there's that kind of mid-range deck that involves blue, like a mid-range Jeskai deck, that lets you go get parts of your combo or just artifacts to take care of different things. Could definitely see it as part of that deck. So Trophy Mage, just a really solid card. Whir of Invention is an X blue rare instant that has Improvise and says search your library for an artifact card with converted mana cost X or less, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So again, with that possibly Esper, possibly just blue-black control deck that's I think is going to be around, you could potentially have a number of artifacts with that deck. So because of that, I can see this seeing play. Because it comes, it becomes from your library directly onto the battlefield. It's not Trophy Mage, doesn't put it in your hand, but it's not attached to a body, and this is going to be more mana. So this is by default the same cost as Trophy Mage. And then you can tap X artifacts to go find something. I can see it in there once you are in control of the game in those late turns. You know, you have a couple counters in your hand, you have a couple kill spells in your hand, and you have this. You play this at the end of your opponent's turn to go tutor for your Gearhulk, for your big game-winning artifact, and then put it into play, right? Because you can look at it. Because okay, let's do this with a Gearhulk. I'm going to Whir of Invention for a Torrential Gearhulk to kill something, to kill your last blocker. Declaration and Stone it, or Grasp of Darkness it. That seems pretty good to me. So I can see this definitely getting into standard in those kinds of Esper or blue-black control decks. Limited. This is another one of those rare cases where it might not be as good, because you right away have to either have a lot of artifacts or have a lot of mana for this to go find your thing. It's for your big game-winning artifact, and you have to have a big game-winning artifact to open as well. So because there's so many more conditions on this that are hard to fill in limited formats, it's not going to be as good there as I think it's going to be good in standard. Whir of Invention is going to be a really good card. Just if you open in your sealed pools, hang on to it for standard. Windkin Raiders is 4 generic mana and 2 blue for a creature. It's human Artificer, uncommon that has Improvise and is a 4/3 flyer. So this guy, again, you're going to get to play this for 4 or 5 mana quite a bit. And like I said, with our life gaining 4/3 flyer, it's a 4/3 flyer you're going to play for 4 or 5 mana. Do it. If for nothing else other than that, it's going to block other people's 4/3 flyers. Doesn't gain you life, but it's a good evasive card. I'm always happy to play this guy. If I can get it for cheaper, like 5 mana, maybe 4. Dream Scenario, maybe 3. Who knows? It's going to be a really, really solid card for that. Because these Improvise, nice thing about those is if I can both play this and then keep up mana for a counter spell or a kill spell or something like that, I'm going to have a really good time with this card. So, Windkin Raiders, pick it and play it. It's going to have a good time. So that is our last card for the blue cards out of Aether Revolt. Again, if you guys agreed with me, disagreed with me, whatever, if you just want to say something, please put it in the comments down below. I would love to hear back from you guys. If you guys want to follow us on Twitch or Twitter, it's twitch.tv/Dave865 or at Dave2619 on Twitter. We'll usually announce when we're streaming, or if we put up new videos, stuff like that, we'll announce it on there. If you liked this video, hopefully you did. If you didn't, let me know in those comments. If you did, thumbs up, like, share, subscribe, everything that lets people know that I exist, that us as a channel exists. In the future, we're going to be doing a box opening. We're going to film that and put that up tomorrow when Aether Revolt comes out, because as of today, it comes out tomorrow. I'll put up a lot more content for you guys, hopefully weekly stuff, if not, maybe even a little more often. And yeah, thanks for spending time with me today, you guys, and have fun with these cards, have fun with the rest of the set, and have an awesome rest of your day.